All right, guys, welcome back to the Risk Takers or History Makers podcast. It's been a little bit since we did one of these in the past. I'm with my boy Jesse. We're out here in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. We've been out here for what, like a week or so?
Yeah, about a week, yeah.
A week. We're out here for the next month, enjoying summer in South America. It's the best place to have summer. And I'm
Next to Cape Town.
Next to Cape Town. We did just come from Cape Town. That was also super sick. We've been traveling around. Jesse's been traveling with me. Stoked to have you on the pod with me today, brother.
For sure.
And yeah, dude, it's been crazy. 2 months ago, you basically just got into all this internet money stuff that I've been doing for a while, and I just kind of want to hear your story today. If you don't know, my podcast is pretty much just for guys that are basically, man, like our younger self, basically people that haven't, maybe are looking for a direction of where to go, and we can just give them a little bit of wisdom, give them a little bit of inspiration, and just kind of share your story and kind of, how you got here, how you're traveling with me, and just give a little quick introduction about yourself, and then we can go from there.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I've been looking at the internet money space for a while. I've kind of poked around at a lot of different things. Kind of went the traditional routes with a job. Never done sales before, though. Didn't have any kind of sales experience. And yeah, I mean, I went to school, got 2 degrees, one of them in marketing. Didn't like marketing.
Where are you from originally?
Arizona.
From Arizona States. Okay, Arizona. Were you into traveling at all when you were younger, or like how this whole?
Yeah, bro. I got a tattoo of a compass on my chest.
Okay, sick.
Tattoo, yeah.
Okay, and so, what's the first kind of like business thing that you tried, I guess, when you were younger?
Well, when I was a kid, man, I had a Nintendo 64, and I tried to get my family to pay to watch me play it.
Really? Okay.
In my room, and I would put a little box collecting money, saying, if you want to watch me play this video game.
Nice, bro. Nice.
That was my first entrepreneur inclination, where I was like, I like playing this. People might like watching. Maybe I can get people to pay me to watch.
Nice, bro. That's sick.
And from there, man, I dabbled with a bunch of things. None of it was really successful. I tried to start a drone photography business in high school, so I got certified as a drone pilot. I still use that today. I've got my drones, fly them around.
Yeah.
But that didn't really take off, no pun intended. Didn't really go anywhere. And then from there, in college, I dabbled around with a lot of stuff. I used to flip shoes.
Okay.
When I was in college.
Classic. A lot of guys do that. The Supreme stuff, right? Yeezys. Yep.
That good stuff, man.
Yep.
So, yeah, that was fun. Made some money with that, bro. When I was in the day that I was graduating, commencement, I remember Ben Carson was speaking, and the Nike Air Force One Travis Scott's, or no, the Jordans, whatever the fuck they were. I don't know which ones they were. The AJ1s, whatever the big popular Jordans that everybody likes. The Travis Scotts, they were this huge hype release, and they were dropping the day of commencement. And I remember copying those on the Nike app the day of commencement.
Nice, bro.
It was crazy. Flipped those for like $1,000.
Really? Okay, so that was your first okay, I can actually make money without working a regular job.
Yeah, that was my first bit of like, holy fuck, this is a lot of money from doing like basically nothing.
And how'd that feel?
Incredible.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And so then where did you go from there? I mean, it's basically, I'll give you guys a quick little update. I mean, I was down in Mexico, and he gave me a ring, and he basically told me, he's like, what are you doing? I basically want to learn what you're doing. I guess, man, because we did meet in university, and I know he was doing his own thing. We kind of went our own different ways. And then, yeah, man, you just got interested in sales. Why? Why did you get interested in sales?
So, yeah, I've been kind of looking around at the internet money space for a while. A lot of different things. I had some friends who were doing...
Talk about the thing when you invested a bunch of cash into and didn't really work out.
Oh, yeah. When I was 18, I went to a real estate seminar. And,
Real estate, okay.
Yeah, they pitched me this thing, this mastermind, this course. I spent $50,000 on it. Okay. Money that I had gotten because I got in a car accident. It was a motorcycle accident.
Okay, nice.
Head-on collision. I got like $120,000 as an insurance settlement. I put $50,000 of that into a real estate course, and it didn't go anymore. So that was a massive hesitation. That made me kind of skeptical about courses and education in the internet space.
Online education, right? You got scammed essentially for $50K. That's quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, part of it was like they misled me on what I would get, and part of it was I was too young and immature to like really take advantage of it. So didn't really go anywhere, and I basically lost $50K, which really sucked, and that made me super jaded for a while. I've never looked back on that with regret because I think I learned a lot of lessons from it. I've literally never looked at it with regret.
Yeah. Everything you do, brother, you learn. So yeah, I'm sure like you learned some lesson from that.
Yeah, I've never once felt the pain of regret from it because it was just a valuable lesson.
Yeah.
And then after that, yeah, so that sucked. And after that, I was super skeptical whenever I would see a guru come online saying like, we're gonna buy a course, will make you money. I was super skeptical of it. Now I realize that there's a lot of good stuff out there because I mean, obviously I'm selling for one now and I see that there's a lot of value in those. But I tried different things after that. Like in college, after I was flipping shoes, I got into Forex trading, which is really fucking hard.
A lot of guys have. I did that as well in the early days, and very hard. Yep.
Very hard to make good money in. I was good at it because I'm very analytical, but I realized it would take way too much work sitting behind a computer. It's just, dude, it fucks with your emotions, man. Forex trading is one of the most emotionally volatile things that you can like try to jump into.
That's facts, yeah.
You have to learn to be a robot with that. But so I continued to go the typical path. Got my degree in marketing, but then I finished a second degree out of my university in interdisciplinary studies. I called it computer science business communications. From there, I got a job in tech. From there, I got a job as a software engineer.
Taught yourself how to code.
Yeah, I taught myself how to code. Then I got hired by a startup. And while I was working at that startup, I built my own agency in crypto, a development agency. So I made some money with NFTs and everything. Realized it was better to, when there's a gold rush, it's better to sell the shovel than try to mine the gold. And I realized that. I started building NFTs. Made some decent money, but everything kind of collapsed.
It wasn't consistent. It wasn't consistent cash.
Yeah, it wasn't consistent, and also that was kind of the tail end of the NFT craze. So then from there, I got a job at Amazon as a software engineer, which was a huge accomplishment because it's really fucking hard to do that, especially not having a degree in engineering and teaching myself everything. And that was a remote job. Did that for a while, and they did this whole RTO policy, laid a bunch of people off, and they wanted me to move to New York, and I didn't want to do that. I value this. I value being able to travel and work remotely. I saw what you were doing, and we had connected in college and everything, and I was like, yeah, he's making good money, it seems. So I hit you up about it. I called you, and I was like, yo, how much money are you actually making with this?
Yeah.
Because I was skeptical of people I didn't know. Like if I saw people that were making good money and I didn't know them, I'd be like, it's...
Yeah, you see online gurus making whatever kind of cash. You see people flexing screenshots. But at the end of the day, you never know what's actually true until you touch it, right? Until you actually feel it yourself.
Also in the Forex trading space, I found out that there's a lot of people who intentionally stunt on what they're making, and they lie about it all the time. So maybe more skeptical about people who talk about how much money they make. But since I knew you and I trusted you, I talked to you about it, and I was like, damn, you're making as much money as I'm making at Amazon. So I was like, bro, teach me how to do that so that I can leave Amazon.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy. Like this stuff. Like I want you to quickly touch on like high ticket closing, what it actually is, because a lot of when we say sales, people think traditional sales. People think door to door sales. Maybe they think the Amway kind of thing, or they think like car salesman, kind of sleazy salesman, right? And that's not the reality. This is completely different, right? And this is a new space with online education that's emerged. Explain it to someone who knows nothing about it. How would you describe it?
When I talk to people about the education space today, the online education space, I view it as it's a new wave of education where the old world education is universities, which I think there's a lot of value for certain fields. But we're kind of entering a new age of education where the way that I think education should be, which is where you see a skill that you want to do and then you get educated on that. And people learn to make money in a space, and then they start teaching others, right? People become skeptical sometimes because they think, well, if you're making more money from the education than you were from the skill itself, people get skeptical of that, which I think is ridiculous because obviously there's less overhead with education. So if you can make $50K a month doing e-commerce, but then that person can make $100K a month selling e-commerce, who gives a fuck? You can still make $50K a month learning from that, right? Yeah. So people get kind of skeptical of that, which I think is kind of ridiculous because at the end of the day, if you learn from them, learn whatever they're teaching, if it can legitimately get you to that point and you're doing better than you would 60K a year, which is what the average American makes.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is too, like people ask me, like when I'm doing closing, right? Like, okay, what are you actually selling, right? This is info products, this is coaching, this is consulting, right? So you're learning from people that are actually doing already what you want to do. They've already gone before you. They've whether it's in your offer, which is what in real estate, right? Whether it's
Which is ironic because
that's where you started, right? And and now you're back selling real estate. Yeah, but yeah, like selling these mentorships, these programs where people can actually learn and fast track their way to actually having success with this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So yeah, bro. So you got in. You kind of were interested in learning about that. You called me up. And then, had you ever done sales before? Never, even when you were a kid, you never did any kind of like.
The only sales experience I had, which is very sparse, was when I would for my own dev agency in the crypto space, I would have to talk to clients. But dude, I didn't know how to sell to them. It was just me trying to negotiate and figure out like what a good price was. Like I wasn't actually like really doing any selling. So like.
Yeah. And so, bro, like what? I guess so. You started with me back in when did you start with me? About what was it? End of October?
Yeah, I got back from Brazil, from Sao Paulo, end of October, and that's when we started. So I basically learned.
So we started training in October.
End of October.
The
beginning of November.
Basically, beginning of November.
I trained with you for November, half of December, and then I got an offer halfway through December.
So I got you on an offer, and then you've been working now for what?
About 2 months, a month and a half. Yeah, end of January, beginning of February. It's been about a month and a half on my own.
Okay. How much you made so far?
10 grand, roughly.
Have you added it up?
Yeah. Between the 6 weeks that I've worked, I've made about 10 grand. Yeah.
So 10 grand in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And 2 months, 2.5. Well, 2.5 months, we'll say, because there was a little bit of training. You'd never done sales.
Yeah, no sales.
Brother, that's unheard of. That's amazing.
I know.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
How much you working each day?
3 hours roughly. So
crazy, right?
yeah, I've got like 4. My calendar is set up where I can take 4 calls a day right now. I have it blocked off, and I get to choose my schedule, which is nice. So like, if I want to open my calendar up, I can do that. If I want to close it off, I can do that. So right now I have it set up to take 4 calls a day.
Yeah.
I end up having about 2 to 3 no-shows, so I take like 1 to 2 maybe. And they're like 45-minute calls. Sometimes they go for about an hour, hour and a half if the person's closing and we're trying to figure out logistics with their bank and everything. But
yeah,
I mean, I really end up taking like 1 to 2 calls a day.
That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. 10K in so 5K a month essentially.
Yeah,
2 months in, it's just, and you're barely even working.
It's like between 4 to 6K a month right now, and that's like 3 hours a day, 4 slots a day for calls, 1 to 2 actual calls.
Yeah,
bro. There's people on my offer that are making like 20, 30K a month.
Yeah, that's low. Like in high ticket closing, guys, if you don't know, like you can make anywhere from 10 to 30K a month very easily.
Yeah.
Right. Very comparable to what a doctor's making essentially, right?
Yeah. I mean like more.
more.
Depending on the doctor, of course. Yeah.
Like you're tripling, quadrupling like what average salary is, right? Just from hopping on a few calls, talking to people. And it's more than just learning sales. You're learning so many valuable skills like talking to people, persuading people, conversating, basically getting your idea across, like all these different skills that help, the confidence booster. Have you noticed like other areas of your life improving now that you've learned sales?
I've always tried to be an articulate person, and I noticed when I became an engineer that skill started to fall off. Where
because you weren't talking to people as much.
I spent so much time behind a computer, I'm not talking to anybody.
Yeah.
That like communicating is a skill, man. Like formulating your words properly, formulating your ideas is a skill. So when you don't practice it, it goes away. So spending so much time behind a computer as an engineer, I started to lose that skill, right? So that's one of the reasons. That was another reason why I wanted to get into this, because it's a way for me to practice communicating. I talk to people all the time and whatnot, so it was valuable.
That's sick. So let's go back to your offer to help people kind of understand a little bit more. You're basically selling an education mentorship. It's an education mentorship on how to get started in real estate, right?
Section 8.
In Section 8, okay. And then and talk a little bit about that, like what's the commission look like and how does it all work, just so people can understand.
Yeah, so I can't give exact numbers because I think I signed an NDA.
Sure.
But it's roughly the just to give a range, because I think that's probably okay.
Or give an example, like so people understand. Like basically, we're selling like what I do, what you do. We're selling things for how much usually?
I'm not talking about mine.
We can talk in general. Yeah.
A lot of offers I've seen, noticed high ticket might include selling anything from 2 to 10K, right? And your commission structure might be anywhere from 8K to 10 to 15. I've seen
8%, 8 to 10.
8%. Yeah, I've seen as high as like 20% on some offers.
Yep.
Where that's what you're getting on cash collected, right? So, and then there's also appointment setters. So the way most of them work is you have a lot of inbound leads come from Instagram. So you might have somebody who's selling something and they have a lot of followers. They get a lot of warm inbound leads. The nice thing about closing, man, that I really value about it, is I don't have to do any cold calling. A lot of people, when they get into sales, they become a BDR. They go sit behind an office in a cubicle with 100 other people, and they sit there and they call random people all day. They're cursed out all day.
Yeah.
And then eventually, when you go through that shit enough, you might get promoted to a position where now those people are setting appointments for you, appointment setters, and then you're doing pitches, right? That's like the next step up from a BDR. You skip that. As a closer, you skip that entirely. You don't have to set any appointments. You don't have to do any cold calling. You just have a schedule open. People book with you. They're warm leads, and your job is to just coach them through through buying it, right? See if it's a good fit for them first, right? Do some discovery, see if it'll even work, if they're even qualified. If so, then you go through the pitch and then you close.
Exactly. And you have two routes. So there's two routes. You got your DM setting, where you're actually in the DMs and you're actually chatting with the people and you're setting them up for appointments, and then you actually have the closer. Did you ever do any DM setting? You went straight into closing. So typically most people, they'll start DM setting, where they'll be in the the personal brand, in the influencer's DMs, talking to people and basically massaging them into an appointment, right? So that's typically the route most people take, and then they become a closer. But you went straight to the bat. You became a closer right off the bat.
Straight into it.
And yeah, dude, it's pretty legendary. How did you find my training? How did you find the other guys in the crew? Like, how did that all help you?
Yeah, I mean, they're all solid people. It was great because I think the most valuable thing that I got was the ability to do mock calls. Even though at the end of the day, a mock call obviously is not going to emulate what it's like to be in the field.
Yeah.
So like the thing about mock calls I noticed is kind of funny. I was talking to other guys about this. Is that you're gonna have like 100% close rate on mock calls, because like nobody's gonna be like,
they're gonna give you a little objection, but they're not gonna really slap you around.
Let
Yeah.
you push back and whatnot.
Yeah.
But eventually, like in a mock call, the person you're talking to doesn't want to be a dick, so they'll always close.
Usually, yeah.
So at the end of the day, you're gonna feel like you have a really high close rate, and then you get into the real field, and then you're like, oh shit, this is actually a little bit, it's harder than I thought.
Yeah.
But the mock calls help a lot, because like when I jumped in, dude, my first call, I had no idea what I was doing. It was I didn't know what.
Dude,
to
your
say.
first calls, man, I used to review them, and your calls now are like night and day. Yeah. Crazy in just 2 months.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You learn more about reading people, like understanding. Like when somebody hops on a call, dude, oftentimes I can tell a lot quicker whether they're gonna close.
You can tell in the first couple minutes whether they're gonna be
like reading their vibe and everything. Some people still surprise me, but it's it's interesting. But yeah, the most valuable thing that I found was the mock calls for sure.
The live mock calls, yeah, that's key. So cool, man. So what's your like long-term goal with sales and closing?
Well, bro, I value my time. I value the time to be able to do other entrepreneurial things, right? Like, I've got a tech startup that I'm working on. I'm very deep in the crypto space still. And like Amazon was just taking way too much time to work on anything, right? So I didn't have time to work on the things that I actually value, the passion projects I want. So sure. The nice thing for me about closing is it gives me the cash flow that I need at a very good rate for my time, where now I can invest my time in my passion projects.
And that's really the thing, guys, with closing is like this is the number one skill that you need to learn when you're just getting into entrepreneurship or business. Because I tried a bunch of things when I started out. I ran 3 different agencies. He's running an agency as well, and I did a bunch of different things. Trading, all this stuff. And at the end of the day, sales is the easiest thing where you can cash flow right now within weeks, within a month or so, you'll be making that cash back. Whereas if you're trying to build a business or a startup, it's going to take a ton of time before you actually see results, and you're also having to develop multiple skill sets to then actually get some cash flow.
The thing is, dude, once I was trained, like once I had done enough mock calls and I understood the process a little bit more, the time for me to actually get on an offer was like 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably the thing that surprised me the most, because I was like, okay, the training is it's gonna be one thing, right? Going through all that, I thought it was gonna take me like 1 to 2 months to land an offer. But in reality, bro, it was literally like 1 to 2 weeks, like 10 days max. So it was nice to get placed so quickly.
Yeah. That's internet space, bro. That's the internet space. I mean, all the guys that I've closed for, some of the top guys in industry, honestly, in the IM space, it's a couple days, a couple weeks max. And you can hop offers very easily. But what you'd be doing in the corporate space, which could take you 10 years, in this space, in a year of actually working hard on an offer, you can really, really elevate. You're also working with, multi-millionaires, and you're bringing them, you're the tip of the spear. You're bringing them all the cash.
Yeah, bro, your network is your net worth.
It's true. So it's dude, it's such a valuable skill set in younger guys. I wish I'd gotten into sales when I was even younger, honestly. But yeah, just high ticket closing in this whole industry, it's life changing stuff.
Yeah, man. What's crazy about it too is like when I think about the online education space, and it's becoming more and more mainstream, more and more acceptable, because like there's people like Alex Hormozy who are talking about it more, bringing it more to the mainstream. It sucks that there's unfortunately bad people out there who take advantage of people, right? But there's a lot of really valuable education out there, a lot of really valuable ways to make money. And it's not
the way I always looked at it, man. Is sorry to interrupt you. Is like if I see somebody that's actually like even an e-commerce, drop shipping agency, all these different models, man. You have so much, right? You're like, what do I actually do? If there's someone who's actually selling a course or selling a mentorship about it, it's probably because he's actually already had success at it.
generally,
Right?
yeah.
Every model works. It's just will you put enough time into it consistently over a long period of time to actually achieve that same success? And most people quit early. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely, yeah. And the thing is as well is that like if you look at colleges today, how much money is spent on colleges?
What is the average year like?
The average, I don't know, but I mean, like, I still have $40,000 in student loans, and that was after all the grants and shit that I got. I think my
Like 20, 30,000 a year?
yeah, I mean, my education was probably like 120 grand in total at a university, and I think that's pretty average.
Private university.
Private university. I think that's pretty
in the
standard.
States, in the USA.
I think if you in-state tuition, maybe 50, 60, out-of-state tuition, a lot of places, bro, it could go upwards of like 400 or 500K, right? So like, and people are spending all this money getting degrees for things that they can't even make money doing.
Marketing.
Not to bash against any psychology or marketing majors, of course, but I mean, I was a marketing major, bro.
I did marketing too, man. I'm not even using it.
That's one of the reasons I decided not to do it, bro. When I was my senior year, I started doing some research about how much money you make as like a marketing manager. Not to bash against any marketing managers, but like they don't make a lot of money. It's like, you know, 60, 70K a year is like the maximum that you can make. And I was like, dude, that's like the amount of money that I'm spending on this is just, it's not worth
You
it.
can make that in 3-4 months with us. Yeah, it's crazy, bro. No, like that's where like if I was younger, man, and I like the thing is I was the oldest in my family, and my family really pushed education, and I know a lot of guys in the internet marketing space that dropped out, right? And now there's a lot more information out there, but when I started out, there wasn't, right? There's just a few guys that were doing this, right? You got like the Ty Lopez's and those OG dudes,
Yeah.
right? And so it was still kind of like a new field, and so like I kind of had to go through that ringer, right? And I put the cash out. I have 2 degrees, man. I have 2 degrees,
Same, yeah.
right? And I did, like, a lot of these guys, you know, they drop out. That works. That's great. There's a lot of value I did get from university, so I don't want to completely bash on it. If you know what you're going to do, if you know specifically you have a plan of what you want to be, university's great. It's the only way. But if you don't know what you want to do, going to university, switching your major a couple times, you know, costing you a semester here, costing you, you know, cash here and there, that's where I wouldn't do it. But if you know what you want to do, yes, it's 100% great.
There's certain fields that are great for, obviously, things
you
like
don't-
being a lawyer,
yeah.
being a doctor, whatever.
Yeah.
You don't need it for tech. You don't need it for software engineering, ultimately. But like,
So I felt like I was lied to when I was younger, just like from my school counselor and all this, where they pushed it so heavily, and they didn't really educate you on the fact that, okay, there's other ways, there's other routes, and really it's developing a skill set, right? Like with tech, if you know how to code, that's a skill set, right? And you can get a job. You don't necessarily have to have a degree if you have the certification or the know-how.
you need a portfolio.
You need a portfolio, and you need experience, right? You need an internship potentially, right? Or you need a testimonial with a client, right? If you're doing marketing, and then you can get whatever job, right? But it's getting that initially, right?
Bro, colleges are so behind with marketing too. Like what they teach in textbooks for marketing is so behind compared to like what people are actually doing, like what works in marketing. All the
Facts.
people who are running SMMAs and everything, they know marketing better than all the university professors who are teaching it,
Exactly.
right? Because that's what sells these days.
I always looked at the like even the business. Like I wish I'd maybe at least done business. I didn't do business, but even when I went, like when I walked by the business school and I'd see like the professors, the cars they're driving, what they're wearing, it's like, bro, they're driving Corollas. They're not actually driving like nice cars. So it's like if you're learning from these people, you're gonna be driving the same thing. Wouldn't you want to be learning from someone who's actually doing what you want to do? Like I wish when I was younger, I'd taken all that money that I put towards university and actually put it towards online education, online mentorship, you know, in-person mentorship, and just learn from people, found a business guy that was doing what I wanted to do, and just literally worked for him for free.
For sure, man.
For 4 years. Like, think how much time you put in universities. 4 years. You're literally studying for 4 years, and you're not getting paid at all. You're actually paying.
Dude, 6 months to a year in any one of the fields in the internet money space, if you
Crush.
dedicate and grind for...
If someone came to me right now and said, I'll work for you for 6 months for free, brother.
You get so much further than you can with a 4-year degree. And the thing is, the only valuable thing that I learned in as far as my business cognate in the university was finance, like corporate finance. Most valuable course I took. So I learned a lot about the high value money, investing, and everything.
Yeah.
But everything else, I don't remember a single thing from any of my business classes.
So if you were to do it again all over from the scratch, and let's say right now, you're homeless, you're broke, you have nothing, right? You don't have any skill set.
Yeah.
What would you do? How would you get out of that situation?
Get a hold of a phone, and then I would try to find some kind of like DM setting offer where I can make money directly from my phone. Right? Yeah, I would jump into sales first because it's the least overhead, I've noticed. For me, it's not the end all be all. Like I have other things that I want to work on and build, but it's a great way for me to generate cash flow without any kind of overhead, right? Because I've looked into a lot of these other internet money things. E-commerce requires overhead. It also has a longer learning curve.
You need startup capital.
Same thing with affiliate marketing. Super competitive, high learning curve. Trading also probably the highest learning curve with forex trading. No overhead. Well, you need startup capital, but you only need like $1,000. But highest learning curve by far. SMMA also pretty high learning curve. The thing that drew me to sales, no overhead, and a much shorter learning curve. Especially DM setting, bro. You don't make nearly as much, but you still, even with DM setting, you make at least as much as the average person in the U.S. Just sending messages to people on Instagram.
Dude, brother, what I was making $2,000 to $5,000 a month as a DM setter for almost 2 years, and I was traveling, living in places like Mexico and these more underdeveloped places where you can, making $1,000 to $2,000 a month is crazy. So if you're making $2,000 to $5,000, you're like making triple the average.
Yeah.
And you're working 2-3 hours a day.
Yeah. So if I had nothing, man, I would definitely start with that. And then with all my free time, I would look into something in the internet money space that's more scalable, because sales it's not going to get you to like 100K.
You're not going to make $100K a month. You've told me you want to make how much a month?
100K.
100K a month. You're not going to make $100K a month doing sales.
Yeah, exactly. So it doesn't have to scale for it.
It does not.
But it can definitely get you to like 30, 40, 50K. 50K if you're really good on a good offer. Right?
Yeah.
So, but it can definitely take you from nothing to a good place. So if I had nothing, man, I would do that, because like I said earlier, the thing that I value most is my time. So something that pays me a high rate for a short amount of time is the best. And then I would use my time studying something else in the space that's more scalable, that requires more overhead, that I could learn at a better rate, like maybe e-commerce, something like that. Maybe real estate. Real estate requires the most overhead, though, for sure.
It does. Yeah, I mean, dude, in sales, like, you use it in everything you do, man. Like, we were even on the flight here. We were talking about this. There were a couple things that we got better deals on. We got an upgrade on the car. On our car rental.
We got three meals.
We got 3 meals on the plane. From chatting with her, flirting with her a little bit, using some closing skills. What other stuff? There was a bunch of things.
Something with an Uber, man. We got
an upgraded Uber on a taxi.
Yeah. The rental car.
The rental car we got upgraded.
It's over in Cape Town.
They gave us a bad rental, but dude, like it's a crazy good skill.
Also, a lot of guys who maybe suck at dating. It's good for dating. It's funny. There's a lot of overlap between closing
That's true.
And dating. A lot of similar terminology.
That's true. That's true, man. That's cool. So yeah, dude. So you're out here. You came out with me to Cape Town. We had an amazing time out there. Now we're here in Brazil. We're traveling. We're doing kind of working remotely. Honestly, bro, location free, financially free, time free. Like, dude, we're living the dream, to be honest. Like, this view behind us. Unfortunately, we were trying to wait to do the podcast, because it was cloudy and it's been a little rainy the past 2 days. But at the end of the day, show must go on. So here we are.
Yeah, past that cloud is a beautiful view of a mountain.
The sunsets are crazy here. Beautiful villa, beautiful view. We're just gonna start exploring around here for the next little bit. But dude, do you have any advice, anything for these younger lads? Like anything about other than making money? Because because the thing is, bro, making money. I told you, like, making money is just the tip of the spear, right? But there's a lot of other stuff that comes behind that to actually make that possible.
First thing I would say is mindset. It all starts with mindset. One of the earliest things I learned from that real estate stuff I did at 18, somebody said they described the triangle where you have 3 points: mindset, action, and knowledge.
Yeah.
Right? You need all three to be successful. Mindset's the most important, right? A lot of people have limiting beliefs. People hear a lot about limiting beliefs, and it's true. I think the number one thing that you have to fix is your limiting beliefs before you can achieve anything, right? And there's ways you can do that, like positive affirmations, things like that. But that stuff legitimately does work, right? Input equals output, right? If you have a lot of negative self-thought, negative self-chatter, limiting beliefs, just vocalize the opposite of whatever it is. Because at the end of the day, everything that happens around us is just data, right?
It is.
How we interpret it is our frameworks. So fix your frameworks, and then, yeah.
Your reality is your reality is your subconscious projected outwards. So what you think will become reality.
Yeah. So like, what happens, everything around us is it's very impersonal to us, but our frameworks and how we view things affects our decisions, everything afterwards. So one thing that I learned is to adjust my frameworks.
Yeah.
And the more you adjust your frameworks, you can manipulate, what happens. You become more in control of your future. Right?
That's good, bro. That's good. So what are a couple of habits that you've really like dialed in that have really helped you?
Ice baths.
Yeah, we were talking about this yesterday. Ice bath. Why ice baths?
I think there's something super value. So I've only been doing this for a couple months. I did it in Dallas before I came over here.
Yeah.
It's a new habit I picked up, but bro, I find something incredibly valuable about, obviously when I wake up in the morning, I don't want to go in it. I don't want to jump in it. It's fucking cold.
Yeah.
It's terrible. But there's something super valuable, especially as a man, in starting your day, forcing yourself to do something you don't want to do. It trains a muscle in your mind. And I heard about this as well. There was some Harvard studies about a specific region of your mind they associate with willpower, right? And the more you train it, the bigger it gets.
Yeah.
So forcing yourself to do something you don't want to do makes it easier to do other things you don't want to do, right? So that was the most valuable thing. Other than that, it cuts, gray fat, whatever. Like it makes you more shredded. I value fitness a lot.
Yeah,
It makes
yeah.
you more shredded. It trains your stress response. I used to be a bitch when it came to cold water. Now when we were in Cape Town, the water was cold as fuck and it didn't bother me.
Yeah, man. I mean, all these little micro things, man. You got to get down. You got to get those down. But at the end of the day, you just got to work. At the end of the day, you have to be consistent. And you have to put in those, sometimes those 10, 12-hour days and like actually learning something, learning the skill set. I mean, you went through. I mean, when you came in with me, brother, all my guys, we all start out with a fast, right? I want all my guys to be killers. I don't want anyone to be, left behind. So we're all fasting to prepare our mindset to learn the new skill of sales, right? And then you're dialing in the habits, right? You were working, crazy hours for the first 2 months learning everything. You went through all of my calls. You were watching all my sales calls. You were just a student of the craft, right? And so the results you've gotten it's because you've worked for it, right? It's because you put in the time.
Yeah, for sure. Like there's something super valuable about having a routine, dialing and optimizing your routine. Like I was working 12 to 14-hour days between learning sales, working Amazon, working on my startup, and then I kind of playing around with crypto investments still. So I was trying to manage all that at one time, working like 12 to 14-hour days.
Yeah.
And the only way you make that happen is through discipline. I didn't want to do that stuff every day, but I accomplished every goal I wanted in that 2-month time frame, right?
Mm-hmm.
So discipline is the number one thing that I taught myself to accomplish where I'm at.
Over motivation, brother. Discipline prevails when motivation fails.
Yeah, the difference between
Discipline prevails when motivation fails.
Yeah. So the difference between discipline and motivation was something I learned when I was still in university, right? Because motivation is an emotion. It's fleeting. It comes and goes. Discipline is a choice, right? So learning that, practicing discipline. So I would say enhancing your discipline and working on quelling negative self-thoughts and limiting beliefs.
That's great, brother. That's good. I love that. And now we're basically enjoying ourselves out here, traveling. It's been crazy, man. For me, like the last 3-4 months has been crazy. Different spots every month. Like I'm living a dream, bro. It's amazing, and it's all thanks to sales. And I don't want to like hype it up so much, but yeah, man. Like learn sales. That's it. Learn sales. Yeah. That's the beginning of everything, really.
Yeah, man, it's super valuable. I've been finding there's a lot of life lessons just in general, like picking up this skill. I mean, obviously as my startup gets bigger and I have to bring on clients and whatnot, as the CTO of it, I'm gonna be in a position where I have to talk with clients and bring them on. So it's something I've always wanted to learn. I've heard from a lot of people in high places that that are successful entrepreneurs that talk about the value of learning how to sell and everything. Like Alex Becker has talked about It's kind of funny. He said this after I was already in this position learning this, but he talked about the two best things that you can learn is learn how to program and learn how to do sales. And from there you can
And you're on track.
make
You're on track for
loads of
both.
money.
Yeah, dude, that's what it's about, man. That's what it's about. What's your long-term goal, man? Like beyond money, beyond like, you know, being financially free and stuff. What is your like long-term vision, bro? Like what are you trying to achieve in this life?
I mean, freedom has always been my North Star. Like, I value novelty of experience, like new experiences, trying new things, going to new places, meeting new people. I think that life is incredibly valuable and we should take advantage of it. And a lot of people kind of dwindle it away, wasting it on being in a job they hate for 5 days a week, looking forward to the weekend and then destroying their mind with alcohol over the weekend. And like losing all the progress, the momentum that they could have, and then just restarting that on Monday. And people get stuck in the cycle for so long that life just passes them by, right?
That might be another thing. When you're starting out, that might be another good thing to mention. When you're starting out, if you haven't made it yet, there's no reason you should be partying every weekend. There's no reason you should be drinking drugs. All of this you know, this numbs the situation that you're currently in, and it feeds you those you know, dopamine that everything is fine. When in reality, it's not. And really, you don't want to numb the pain. You want the pain to be there because the pain is what's going to force you to do something drastic to get out of your situation.
Yeah, and you have to avoid cheap dopamine hits because cheap dopamine hits is something that will kill you, right? But like not literally, but like, you know, it'll kill your progress. So, one thing that I did for myself as well is recognizing that there's a difference between like discipline and willpower in the sense that I shouldn't rely on my willpower alone, right? Everything that was a distraction for me, I would work on increasing the activation energy required for me to do that thing, right? So if I was using my phone a lot and it was become distracting, like playing Clash of Clans, being on Instagram, I would buy devices where I could lock my phone up in a timed safe, where I couldn't touch it for 4 hours. So like I would force myself. I wouldn't rely on my willpower. I would say, well, fuck you, Jesse. Like if you're gonna keep doing that stuff, I'm gonna value my future enough.
You used to lock your phone up. You lock your phone up in a safe?
Yeah, well, like I bought this little device. I put my phone in. I close it up, and I put a timer on it, and I'm not allowed to open it up until that timer runs out. So like, yeah, if I need to get some work done for 4 hours, and I find myself being distracted, I lock my phone up. I bought another device called a Brick. It does a similar thing. It'll lock you out of your apps for a certain time frame.
Nice.
I don't really game anymore, but you know, years ago I used to game, and what I would do is if it would become too distracting, I would just take my power cord and give it to a friend and say, don't give this to me until tomorrow, right? So you need to create barriers for yourself, right?
You need to create boundaries.
Don't just rely on your willpower.
I have the same on my phone, man. All my communication apps, most of my apps, other than like a few select ones, are blocked until at least noon. Well, until noon, and then I'm allowed to actually access them. So that way in the morning I can just really tap in and get into that flow state.
Yeah, and one thing Joe Rogan said one time that I heard that really resonated with me is he said I'm the most disciplined, lazy person that I know. Yeah. So it's not
disciplined, lazy person.
Yeah, so it's not about like people say, oh, I'm too lazy or whatever. Like, yeah, sure, everybody who's disciplined can be lazy. Like, it's innately in everybody, right? Everybody wants cheap dopamine hits. It's not about not being a lazy person. It's about being a disciplined person. You can be a lazy person, just make yourself disciplined in the process.
Yeah, dude, that's facts. That's gold. I love that. But
also, I would hear a lot of stories about like the one thing that really set in for me is over the course of my life, I heard a lot of stories about how powerful the mind was, right? And every time I heard one of these stories, it made me realize that like you can do more than you think just by the power of your mind. For example, one of them was the fact that nobody had ever run a 4-minute mile before, and nobody had ever done it. One guy managed to do it, and within the same year, something like 11 people did it. So it was possible all along, but people didn't believe it was possible, so they couldn't do it. Once one person did it, it signaled to everybody else, okay, it can be done, and then more people started to do it, right? So there's a lot of things out there that we can do. This is why I talk so much about limiting beliefs, man. Like limiting beliefs will keep you from your goals 100%, right? Another example that I heard a long time ago was that there was a story about a guy who he got stuck. It was a true story. He got stuck he got locked in a fridge at his like job or whatever. Got locked in there, freaked out, right? Next morning, they opened the fridge. The guy was dead. He had frozen to death. They checked the fridge. It wasn't on. The fridge wasn't even on. I think it was actually a fridge train cart. and it wasn't even on. It wasn't hooked up, right? So the temperature was a normal temperature, but the guy thought that it was on, and he froze to death because he was convinced that he was going to freeze. So stories like that I've heard throughout my life just signal to me that like the mind is very powerful.
The mind is very powerful, man. You have to rewire it. You have to callous the mind through like doing things like cold showers. What I do my crazy runs, right, where I'm just painfully running for hours and hours. But yeah, doing these little things, they're signals to your brain. They're metaphors for your brain for when actually hard stuff happens. You were able to overcome that, and you can think back to that other time that you actually were able to overcome something similar, and you push past. Right? It's like going. You know, the first time it's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
But then you know you've achieved that, and then you can go a little bit farther each time, and then you build on that.
Yeah, and then meditation is huge. Meditation was huge for me.
Do you meditate a lot?
I don't do so much anymore, but when you have a practice that you do for like 6 months every day, it changes the structure of your brain where you can maintain a meditative state longer. So meditation was huge. Also, there's some books I read like Psycho-Cybernetics. It's a really good book. It's about how your mind can affect your reality, how much control you have.
Amazing book. I've read it. Yeah.
Also, to some extent, nothing too crazy, but psychedelics were pretty huge. Like I kind of experimented with those some years back.
Yeah.
And that helped a lot.
Kind of rewire a little bit.
Yeah.
Nice, bro.
Yeah, so
nice.
things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, when I started out in this the kind of the self-development game, kind of like just learning how to just take control, like I guess take the front seat in my own life, right? Because a lot of people, man, they just go through life in kind of a placid, glazed over, let life happen to me rather than let myself happen to life. I need to actually make a change, make a wave, and actually make a difference. Yeah. And when I started kind of getting in that routine, which a big reason that was because I actually also had a motorcycle accident. I was paralyzed in a wheelchair, couldn't walk. I was in the lowest point of my life, and I was literally thinking, okay, I may never walk again. This could be it. All right. So what am I going to do? How can I? Life is finite. We only have so many years on this earth. What am I going to do to actually get out of this, right? And so then that's when I got into doing like cold showers, different things where I'd adopt for like 30 days. I'd sleep on the floor. I'd do all these different things. And developing that mindset, then I was able to put that towards other skills.
Yeah, one of the most valuable lessons I've learned over the past year or two is to intentionally pursue discomfort. Put yourself in positions that are uncomfortable. The more you practice that, the more you progress in life in other domains. It's a skill that you train.
Yeah.
But we're gonna lose a light. Right?
We're losing light. Well, maybe we should wrap up. I think that's pretty good for everyone for now. We can maybe do a part 2 later. Yeah. But yeah, that was good. Any last words for anybody?
Stick to it. Don't give up. Every failure is a lesson. And
18-year-old Jesse, what would you tell 18-year-old Jesse right now?
Ignore your inner thoughts. Like every negative thought you have, just ignore it.
Don't be distracted by girls.
Don't be distracted by girls. Yeah. They'll come later.
They'll come later, man. You gotta focus on yourself for now and build yourself up. But yeah, brother, thanks for chatting, and we'll log off, guys.
All right.
Peace out.
For sure.
Pretty good.